piece that I like about this too, like 3, 7, and 3, 8 makes your brain work a lot, and it's difficult. And this chapter 6 falls in a good spot for us to regain our confidence, give our brain a little bit of a break. Not that I don't want you working as hard, but you can work as hard and your brain feel a little bit more accomplished. We're going to work with transformation. So transformation is an operation that maps the original figure or the pre-image onto the new figure called the image. The one you start with is called the pre-image. The one you end with is called the image. So the transformations are like this big overarching piece. And then underneath there's 4 different transformations we're going to learn about. And today we're going to learn about translations. A translation slides a figure from one position to another without turning it. So if I was pointed towards Mrs. Weiss's room, you could translate right or left, up or down, and I'm still pointing the same direction. There's no turning my arm. Follow me? So it's going to be looking the same direction. All right, flip the page. These key concepts always give us kind of the overarching goal, usually in words that we don't quite understand, but we're going to read through this. When a figure is translated, the x-coordinate of the pre-image, remember that's where you start, changes by the value of the horizontal translation. The y-coordinate of the pre-image, your original one, changes by the vertical translation. So this kind of seems like I'm not really sure what they're going for here. When we talk about the x-coordinate, what 2 directions are impacted by the x-coordinate? Left and right. Very good. Go underneath your post-it note right there. The x-coordinate can be changed by going left or right. When I go left, does that have a positive or a negative change on it? A negative change. And when I go to the right, it is a positive change. Why? On the number line of x, your x gets smaller as you move to the left, decreasing it, and larger as you move to the right. So what 2 directions are impact the y-coordinate? Very good. If I go up, is that a positive change or a negative change? And if I go down, is that a positive or a negative? Negative. And those really are just the directions we move to be able to plot things. But just so you know, they also adjust there. When translating a figure, every point of the pre-image, what you start with, is moved the same distance and in the same direction. The image, or the end, and the pre-image, the beginning, are congruent. We talked about the word congruent earlier this year. Congruent figures have the same shape and the same size. So if they give you a picture and they say, translate triangle ABC right and up, and you end up with a square, you screwed up, right? Same size, same shape. It's going to be in a new place on the graph, but it's going to be the same size and the same shape. Every line in the beginning and the end have the same length. All the angles in the beginning and the end are the same degrees. So your shape should look the same. This post-it talks about some notation which is really important. Some of you get lazy when it comes to labeling things or keeping things organized. And in transformations, that's going to be really difficult. So what's called is the prime symbol. And the prime symbol helps us differentiate between which picture is the original, the pre-image, and which one is after I moved it, the image. So the tick mark indicates that this point has been moved. What started as A moved and became A prime. What started as B moved and became B prime. And I think they screwed this up. My guess is that's supposed to say C, and it becomes C prime. Now, if I took C prime and moved it again, they would call that C double prime, which is just 2 tick marks. So as you're working through today's problems and throughout this chapter, you have to label all your points. If they're the original, it'll be A, B, C, or M, N, P, whatever letters they give you. After you move it, you'll want each letter to have a tick mark. If I walk up to any of your books, I should be able to go like, oh, this is the original. This is after you moved it. Here's the pre-image. Here's the image. All right. Okay, let's check our graphing skills. Go down to the bottom. Got it, A. Graph ABC with these vertices. Then graph the image after a translation 4 left and 3 up. Write the coordinates of the image. First things first, everybody go and graph those points and label them A, B, and C. Go plot those points on the graph on the left and label them A, B, C. Double check that your triangle matches mine and that you have it labeled correctly as A, B, and C. Because if you don't start right in the beginning, it's going to be a really long day, isn't it? Right? If you don't have the original points plotted correctly. It goes on to say, graph the image after a translation 4 left and 3 up. So put your pencil on A. Put your pencil on A. Count 4 left and 3 up. Where are you? Right at the origin. What am I going to label that point? A prime. Nicely done. A with that tick mark. A prime. Put your point on B. Your pencil on B. 4 left, up 3. Label it B prime. Go to C. 4 left, up 3. Label it C prime. If I trace this, this triangle should be congruent to the original. Same size, same shape. But it's just in a new location. The last piece of what we have to do, it tells us to write the coordinates of the image. Everybody take a minute on your own. Tell me what locations A prime, B prime, and C prime are located. Who can tell me where A prime is located? JC? 0, 0. Where's B prime located? Jacob? Negative 4, 5. And who's got C prime? Gatlin? Positive 1, positive 4. Nicely done. Could we ever do this without a graph? Go to the right-hand side. Problem B. Quadrilateral ABCD has these vertices. That's where I started. I want to find the new vertices of A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime after a translation of 4 units right and 2 units down. Without a graph, how could I ever figure out what impact 4 units right and 2 units down has? Gatlin? Very good. This is where our directions came up right in the beginning of our notes, correct? When you move to the right, that affects our x in a positive fashion. So I know I have to add 4 to every single x. And when I move down, it affects my y in a negative fashion. So I need to take all of my coordinates and I need to add 4 to my x and subtract 2 from my y. So it would be like this. I always do this. Plus 4 minus 2. Plus 4 minus 2. Plus 4 minus 2. Plus 4 minus 2. You guys take a minute. Tell me where my new a prime, b prime, c prime, and d prime are. Add 4 to your x's. Subtract 2 from your y's. All right, somebody I haven't heard from today. Where's a prime? Tori. 4 negative 2. Love it. B prime. Matthew. 6 negative 2. Nice. C prime. Allie. 7 positive 2. Okay. And D prime. Isaiah? 4 comma 2. Nicely done. Could you ever use this to be able to help you and to make sure that your graph was correct? If we go back here, we didn't actually have to have this graph, right? 4 units left. What's that do to my x? Minus 4. 3 units up. You could add 3. Could you double check that your graph is actually in the correct location now? Just another way to double check your work. Question?
So if there's a graph, do we have to use a graph?
You do. You do. If it asks in the directions for you to graph, yes, you do. Thad. Prime is just a notation, just telling you that, like, this is not the original point. This is after we've moved it somehow. Here's the new location. So you're... No. You think of like prime numbers. Yeah, not necessarily a connection. No, it's just a notation piece. Good questions. Okay, so what would happen like with number 3 here? A computer image is being translated to create the illusion of movement. Use translation notation to describe the translation from point A to point B. So I'm showing you where A is, and I want to know, and I'm going to show you where B is. So here's my pre-image. This is what I started with, and here's my image. I want translation notation to describe the translation. Tell me what movements were made. So the first thing I would ask you to do here is to give me direction words and how many. Tell me if I start at A, how far left or right, how far up and down do I have to go to get to B? Lane? He says down 2, left 1. Thoughts? I think you're right. I would agree with that, yes. Okay. So down 2 changes X or changes Y? Down. Down is your Y. Positive or negative? 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 Negative. If you're going down on your y-axis, are your numbers getting bigger or smaller? Smaller, so it'd be a negative 2. Left affects X or Y? X, positive or negative? Negative. So translation notation is purely directions. So it's going to look like an ordered pair. We put our parenthesis. X always comes first. What do I do to my X? So I write X minus 1. And what am I doing to my Y's? Y minus 2. This is your answer. This is translation notation. Translation notation is showing somebody else how to move this, giving someone else the directions. Flip it over. Guided practice number 3. The baseball at the right was filmed using stop motion animation, so it appears to be thrown in the air. Use translation notation to describe the translation from A to B. So we're starting at A. Everybody right here, use direction words and tell me up, down, left, or right, and how many. Don't say it out loud. Start at A, work to B. Who can tell me direction words A to B? Nevaeh. Up 6, right 2. Agree or disagree, everyone? I think it's just up 5, though, isn't it? Up 5? Okay, if I go up 5, which coordinate is that? X or Y? Y, positive or negative? Positive. If I go to the right, is that X or Y? X, positive or negative? Positive. So translation notation is going to look like an ordered pair. Which one do I write about first? X. So X plus 2, comma, Y plus 5. You're just giving me directions. You're telling me this is what they did. Nope. Quadrilateral DEFG has the vertices listed here. Find the vertices of D prime, E prime, F prime, G prime after a translation of 4 units right and 5 units down. Everybody on your own, tell me under 4 units right and 5 units down, which letter those changes impact and whether it's a positive or negative change. Who can tell me my changes? -5 for X or Y? So Y minus 5 and your X is plus 4. Anybody else agree? Okay, now go through all your points. Add 4 to your X, subtract 5 on your Y. Add 4 to your X, subtract 5 on your Y, and get your new points. Somebody who hasn't answered for me. Where's D prime located? Maddie. 5, -5. Thoughts? Okay. Who's got E prime that I haven't heard from? Connor. 2, -7. Thoughts? I like it. Good. F prime? Parker. 6, -1. Good. And who's got G prime? Chris. 10, -8. Nicely done. Nicely done. Any questions? All right, here's your homework. 1 through 7, 10 through 19. 1 through 7, 10 through 19. Now, it's Friday, and we all want to take home as little as we possibly can. Agreed? Okay? So rock and roll. As you're working, if you have questions, please ask. Don't hesitate. But I will also throw some answers up every once in a while. Okay? Read your directions carefully.